Minasan onegaishimasu. Watashi wa YouTube no channel Okaeri. Probably butchered that. Alright, so today I want to talk about the shape of stupas, and this is a really weird thing to talk about, I guess, because you're gonna hear it and you're like, what? Alright, so first of all, what is a stupa? A stupa basically has a shape that's similar to this. It's got there are different shapes of stupas because there are stupas all over the world, but you can think of it as a ziggurat or a pyramid. A pyramid has a large base, and as it goes higher, it gets smaller. The peak points to the heavens, and different buildings are built for different reasons. But yeah, the stupa, the difference between a stupa and a pyramid is, I'm just gonna consider the top of this half, the top half of this bottle to be the same size. It's fat in the middle. That is basically the difference between a stupa and a ziggurat or a pyramid or whatever. In the middle, it's the ones we have in Sri Lanka, or the country previously known as Ceylon, as I like to call it, is some of them can be gold painted, but most of them are white, just like the wall back here. All right, so some can be gray, but yeah. All right, so the stupa is basically gonna have this head or neck that goes up to, as ideally you would have something like a gem on top, and then there's this big round not base, the middle, and then the base kind of flattens out and even extends, so it's like it goes. So this is the peak part with like the gem on top. I'm gonna consider this to be the gem, right? But before the gem, there's this little box thing in the middle. So yeah, there's a box that separates the neck from the main body, and then the body is like really fat. It's semicircular or globular in essence. And like I said, there's going to be like different ones. Some are going to be thinner and taller, some are going to be shorter and fatter and wider. It's basically like a big boob. And on the base, usually there are like, steppy things, and the base usually widens out. So basically the structure would be, it comes down from a triangular shape, and there's a little box thing, then it widens out into this shape, and then on the bottom there's it just widens out, right? So it goes like this, then that. And if you look at a stupa from a bird's eye view, though, you're gonna see concentric a little bit more about the shape. See, get sidetracked all the time. All right, so like I said, some are going to be thinner and taller, and some are going to be wider. And sometimes, in the case of the bubble form, as it is called, it looks like a water drop or something. The base is actually going to be shorter, so it's going to come from the top like this, and then the bubble part's going to come like this and end inside instead of going outward like this. So instead of the base coming up the fat part coming up like this and the base going out, the base is actually smaller to make the thing look like that. And then there's haystack ones, which are more triangular, I guess. But as you can see, if you look at a pyramid or ziggurat or temple or stupa from above, you're gonna see this. You're gonna see one point right in the middle of it, and then there's going to be like a huge white part. So from here to here, it's actually like, my proportions are really bad because this one's fat and this is not white enough, I guess. But between this and this point here, it's mostly going to be the white stuff from this. So it's kind of like the pupil of your eye, or if you're familiar with like the Eightfold Path and the wheel, another Buddhist symbol other than the stupa is going to be this, the Eightfold Path. So in a way, it's like, if you look at the stupa from the bird's eye view, you're going to see a dot in the middle and then a circle around it. And between the dot and the edge of the circle, there's all this fleshy part, right? Just like with a pear or some sort of fruit, you're going to have the cover, and then you're going to have the fleshy part, and then you're going to have these seeds. There's going to be a little bit of seed, and there's going to be a little bit of layers outside. It's mostly going to be flesh and water. So it's it's kind of like, the boob, the nipple, and then on the edge of the boob, there's going to be like, one concentric circle, like layers, right? So let's get back to the Eightfold Path. Now, what do I think it represents? The stupa, and also another point we have to go back to about the stupas is the stupas were in no way, as I have heard, were in no way condoned or authorized by the Buddhas. People just started building them after the Buddha's death. And same with statues. He was not very big on physical representations of himself, but he was like, I wish I could get my whole picture into this, I guess. So I'm gonna talk a little bit like this now, because I've shown you the circle and the stupa thing, and I probably have to go into a second video as well. All right, so I don't know this stuff. I just, this part is like, just my opinion on it. So yeah, earlier, the stupas were not condoned. There are several types of stupas, and this is the basic shape of the stupa, which from above looks like a wheel as well. Actually, we're gonna have to go back to this one. So basically, this is the dot in the middle. This is the tiniest part. And then there's going to be a lot of fleshy part between the nipple and the outer circle right here. Now, I believe it is in a lot of, all right, if you look at the pyramid, it's pointed towards heaven, right? So it might kind of come into someone's view that, or like, it might like someone might get the opinion that it's supposed to, like, you're supposed to climb it, you're supposed to reach the peak. The most important part is in the peak. But the problem with the circle, also, this is like, what I'm saying is also based on in a lot of Eastern martial arts, because that's also philosophy. Now, you can study a martial art for two reasons. You can either learn to fight, or you can either learn it for self-control and all these internal things, right? So basically, this is how it's gonna go. You got the dot over here, and then you got the body part over here, and then you got the circle over here. I believe that this points out of the circle. So instead of going up like this with the normal shape of the pyramid, you're supposed to go, so from above you have the center thing, and you're supposed to go from inside to the outside. And like I said, like punches, punches are supposed to be a dot. Where's the camera? Right here. Okay, so look at my finger, right? So straight lines are supposed to be dots, right? Behind this dot, there's like a line coming back to me. And then you got like, kicks and stuff, which is, this is like, it's not a full circle, but this is like a piece of a circle, a little what do you call that? Curve? No, not a curve. Yeah. So yeah, most and you know the one that goes like this, that is also a half circle. Kicks are half circles. Kicks are half circles. Then you got strikes which come directly at you. So it's dots and circles. That's basically a lot of Eastern philosophy. They make a huge deal about the dot and the circle. So I believe that the thing with the wheel, this is the wheel of enlightenment. It represents enlightenment. So I believe that, and these are all Buddhist symbols, like lotus, bow. This is the leaf of the tree that the Buddha had his back on, and then this is the leaf where the little Buddha took his first steps. But if you think about the circle and the dot once again, so the Buddha, as you know, started inside a fortress, a castle. He was a prince, or he was like a nobleman of such wealth, and he lived a really good life, a very protected, comfortable life in the middle of all his wealth and everything. That's how he started. And then from here, he moves out toward the rim of. So, three things I find in the story of Gautam Siddhartha, at least the Shakyamuni, as you call him. There are stories of other Buddhas as well. You can divide his life into three parts. In the very beginning, we call Siddhartha Prince Siddhartha. At the beginning of his story, we call him Prince Siddhartha. And even before that, in previous lives, they call him something else. In the middle, for a very short period, I believe, so you got 16 years over here, and then you got, I'll divide the ages later, but I'll first give you the names, all right? So for the first 16 years, he's called Prince Siddhartha. And from 16 to, I believe, 32, another 16 years that is, he is called the ascetic. So from prince, he makes a change in lifestyle choices to become an ascetic. And after 5 long years of asceticism, he becomes another form of ascetic, and then he finally becomes the Buddha at the age of 35. So you got Prince Siddhartha, and then you got the ascetic who lives in the woods and who does self-torture for a while, who does meditation for a while, and who just, gives up on life, eventually starts eating just the stuff that's under the tree, all that self-sacrifice Siddhartha, okay? And then you've got the enlightened one. So Prince, ascetic, enlightened. Those are the three things that that happens to the Buddha. And I think actually it starts from the age of 28, I believe. So I believe he was 28 when that happened, and then he had at 35 the enlightenment. So this middle part, it just goes on for a little over 6 years, I believe. For 6 years, he was connected to 5 other ascetics: Kondanya, Vappa, Buddhya, Mahanama. You're supposed to study the names of the 5 people who the Buddha stuck with, and they were also the first 5 people he shared his knowledge of enlightenment with. They were all trying to look for the path, and so basically the story of Siddhartha goes from, so right in the middle of the circle you would have the prince. You would have the prince who kind of gets tired of this life and wants to leave, and then he does the ascetic path. Well, he chooses the ascetic path. The Shakyamuni chooses the ascetic path, but I believe that not every Buddha has to go through the same way. Maybe he has to face the same challenges, but you don't always have to follow in the previous Buddha's steps, right? And then you got the rim on the outside, and maybe beyond it, or maybe on that tiny rim itself, is enlightenment. So the path to enlightenment, as shown in the Eightfold Path, the wheel of Buddhism, I believe is another representation of what is shown in the Stupas. The Stupas came later. This is more like, this is, so if you take, so this is Christ and this is Santa, except Santa doesn't bring you gifts. Actually, yes, you do put treasures in the Stupas. So you could say that this is, the actual 12 disciple Jesus story, and this is like, the fun story with all the treasures and the gifts and everything, but this is more real. So I believe that the dot and the circle, what they represent is here is like, the life of ignorance, the life of protection, the life of comfort and riches. Or, it doesn't always have to be comfort and riches, I believe. But from there, you have this line going to the rim, and a lot of empty space basically between the pinnacle, the zenith, the point, and the base. So you got the point and you got the base around it, right? And between all of this is empty space. It's just like, nothing. And I suppose there are like, different paths to take, or you have to take all of these paths. This one represents the proper vision or sight, they call it. So that's basically taming of your senses, I suppose, in one of these, and taming of your mind, taming of your actions, your lifestyle, occupation. So you got mindfulness, thought. Vision is basically, it doesn't actually have to do with your eyes. It's more about your attitude on life and stuff like that. So I guess you have to get all those correct before you go from the dot to the rim. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to end the video because I think we're out of time. But I wanted to say, like, that's a huge idea. And all right, so this is what I wanted to say. Because the point is such a small part, and because the rim is also less important, if you look at a stupa like this, you're gonna focus on the middle part most of the time. And what I've noticed is, like, when you think of the middle, actually, a lot of regular people, they would fall over here. And then the once enlightened one. All right, so enlightenment is also a process, according to some of the studious people who have shared their thoughts on it, talking about Nietzsche. So Nietzsche says that, first you're a camel carrying on with the burdens of life, and then you become the lion or whatever, where you start to realize certain things and you start to fight back. And then there's going to be another transformation. So enlightenment, according to Nietzsche, is a process of at least 2 transformations. Actually, I think there are supposed to be 3 transformations. So you're in the middle, and then you change from camel to lion. And I think from lion, you're supposed to change to the dragon. What's bigger than a lion, right? I'm not sure if there's something between the camel and the lion, but I believe it goes from camel to lion to dragon. There are 3 stages of a person's life. It's also called Goethe's man, and I think Schopenhauer's man, and then Nietzsche's man, or well, you start with the Goethe's man. Goethe's man is the camel. That's why we go by the animal representations. The motives are easier to understand, but then, I don't know much about Goethe and Wagner. I think it's supposed to be Goethe's man and the Wagner's man, and then the Nietzschean Schopenhauerian man. But yeah, so the circle, it represents, like, in the middle you're gonna have a lot of, like, on the point itself you're gonna have people like me, people who are very comfortable with their lives, people who don't want to put up with shit. And then you have in the middle, in the not in the base, but in the fleshy part over here, all these people who think they're smarter. They suddenly realize something, and nowadays there are more people who have realized certain things about the way the world works, who understand about making money and about making sacrifices, and so there are people who are doing certain things, and then, but they rarely get to the rim. Crazy part about the Schopenhauerian man and the Goethe's man is, if you're between the point and the rim, people in the middle are going to consider, like, they're not able to tell the difference between the point and the rim, people in the middle. And a lot of people are actually over here. They think they know, but they don't. All right, I got to my point, so thank you very much.